Hey everyone, I'm ScytherGreen from Server 73. Welcome back. This is a follow-up to our last video where we tested if Hideyoshi could replace Saladin in a standard wind march. Spoiler, he didn't exactly deliver. That left us with a bigger question. If neither of them feels like the right fit for your team, who else should you be looking at? Today we're turning the spotlight onto two defensive immortals, Yi Sun-Shin and Bjorn. They're both viable alternatives, but they bring very different strengths to the table. And in this matchup, one of them did a lot more than just survive. Let's break it down. Now, just like in the last test, remember that PvP is situational. Match outcomes can shift based on skill timing, immortal order, or even plain RNG. That's why for consistency, Aroha's team remains exactly the same as before. She's running a high sustain earth comp built for drawn-out fights. Poseidon, Athena, Fluff, and Theodora, backed by Demeter. It's a lineup built to stall. You've got healing, shielding, damage reduction, control immunity, and some crowd control mixed in. No flashy burst, just the goal of outlasting and grinding you down. That gives us a reliable benchmark to test how well Yi Sun-Shin and Bjorn actually hold up. Under pressure, over time. Let's start with Yi Sun-Shin. He's built as a defensive support. His ultimate, Guard of Devotion, reduces all incoming damage by 30% for 6 seconds. In this setup, he was also running Energy Shield for shielding, Master's Aegis to reduce magical damage taken, and Weakening Curse to disarm enemies at the start of battle. So on paper, he looked like a solid pick to keep the team alive longer. For this test, I ran him alongside Chin, Baldwin, and Hannibal, with Demeter as the dragon. Chin boosts speed and applies wound. Baldwin brings magic burst, Hannibal handles sustained pressure, and Yi Sun-Shin is meant to anchor the team with durability and support. He did what he's built to do. He soaked a ton of damage, over 13 million, and provided about 2 million in shielding, mostly from Energy Shield. But here's the thing. His core utility, team-wide damage reduction from his ultimate, doesn't show up in the report at all. There's no line for it, no way to measure its effect, and no sign it turned the tide. It might be doing something, but if it doesn't appear in the data or shift the match, it's hard to quantify its value. And that's where the problem is. He didn't help the team deal more damage. He didn't apply pressure. He didn't create any openings. Baldwin and Hannibal were still doing all the heavy lifting, and Yi Sun-Shin just kind of existed in the background. He was present, but not impactful. If all I needed was someone to take hits and survive, sure, he did that. But in this lineup, against a comp designed to stall and outlast, Yi Sun-Shin didn't help us win. Before we dive into Bjorn, there's one quick adjustment I want to mention. In the Bjorn test, I swapped Chin out for Matilda. Now, I know that changes the lineup slightly, but the goal was to test Bjorn's sustain and synergy with a higher energy regen setup. Matilda brings a passive boost to energy recovery, which helped Bjorn trigger Wither Realm and Energy Shield more often. It's not a perfect apples-to-apples comparison, but even with that in mind, the difference Bjorn made was still way too significant to ignore. Now, let's talk about Bjorn, because the difference was honestly hard to ignore. Same enemy lineup, same Demeter dragon, but this time, I ran Bjorn, Baldwin, Saladin, and Matilda. And right away, Bjorn brought a completely different kind of presence. First off, he actually did damage. Not a lot, but still more than Yi Sun-Shin by a long shot. 969,000 total damage compared to Yi's 257,000. Most of that came from normal attacks, but he also added some through shield and assist transfers. Where he really stood out was healing. Between Energy Shield and his ultimate, Wither Realm, Bjorn provided over 9.8 million healing. That's 5 times more than what Yi brought. His shielding hit more often, and Wither Realm gave the front row lifesteal and boosted resilience. So the sustain was consistent and proactive, not just reactionary. He also took far less damage, only 4.3 million, compared to Yi getting slammed for 13.2 million. That's a huge gap. He wasn't just surviving longer, he was reducing team pressure overall. But the biggest thing for me, he amplified the entire team. Wither Realm increases damage taken by the enemy, slows their attack speed, and gives my team sustain through lifesteal. Matilda was also in the lineup, pushing energy regen. So Bjorn fit right into that tempo. He kept the pressure up and helped everyone else survive. Compared to Yi, who just kind of absorbed hits and cast shields, Bjorn actually influenced the outcome. He added value across the board: sustain, utility, team buffs, light damage, and he made it easier for Baldwin and Saladin to do their jobs. That's the key difference. Yi stayed alive longer, while Bjorn also helped everyone stay alive longer. He hit harder while doing it. Before we wrap up, here's a quick head-to-head between Bjorn and Yi Sun-Shin. Damage dealt? Bjorn pulled nearly 1 million. Yi Sun-Shin? Just 257,000. Not even close. Healing and shielding? Bjorn brought 9.8 million in sustain. Yi managed 2 million, almost entirely from shielding. Solid, but nowhere near the same impact. Damage taken? Yi absorbed 13.2 million, the highest on the team. Bjorn took just 4.3 million, and actually reduced pressure on the rest of the team by doing so. And team impact? Bjorn buffs damage, adds lifesteal, boosts resilience and slows enemy attack speed. Yi Sun-Shin? He reduces incoming damage and applies some shields, and that's it. So if we're talking pure survival, Yi stays alive. But if we're talking about helping your whole team survive and perform better, Bjorn wins it. Clean. And there we have it. Thanks for joining me on this little experiment. I always enjoy digging into matchups like this and seeing which Immortals actually deliver when it counts. If you found this helpful, give it a like, and if you want more breakdowns like this, don't forget to subscribe. Got a lineup you're unsure about? Drop it in the comments. I'm always up for putting a theory to the test. Until then, see you in Norheim.